You ever feel like you're drowning in opportunities? Like the world is throwing so much at you that it's not just dazzling, it's downright exhausting. You try to grab a hold of everything, and you end up like a kid clutching a fistful of sand. The wind blows, and you're left with nothing. A person's energy is like a plot of land. Sure, you can plant all sorts of things, but can you really tend to every single seedling? Those investment advisors in their sharp suits always repeating that clever sounding line. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Let me tell you, that advice is for people who can't even keep an eye on their own damn basket. If your basket is forged from solid iron, why in the world would you take your best, freshest eggs and toss them in with a bunch of rotten ones? They call it diversifying risk. I call it diversifying ignorance. You throw your money into 100 companies you know nothing about. That's not investing. That's gambling. That's buying a lottery ticket and praying for a miracle. The true security has never come from how much you own. It comes from how well you understand what you own. You bought shares in 100 companies? Fine. Can you tell me how a single one of them actually makes money? Do you know their management? Do you know if their product is genuinely great or just a flash in the pan? You don't. You saw a chart, heard a story, and threw your money in. You're like a farmer who hears watermelons are selling well in the next village, so he scatters some watermelon seeds. Then he hears apples are fetching a high price over the mountain, so he plants a few apple trees. Never once stopped to think about what his own soil is good for. He's just chasing someone else's success, mimicking their footsteps. In the end, he becomes a jack of all trades and a master of none. I made the same mistake when I was a young buck. I chased whatever was hot. One day it's oil, so I'm buying oil stocks. The next day, tech is the future, so I'm swapping everything into tech stocks. I was running around like a chicken with its head cut off, feeling like I was on the cutting edge of history. The reality, I was just a piece of driftwood being tossed around by the waves. My account balance went up and down, and my stomach right along with it. After a few years of that circus, once you subtracted the brokerage fees, I realized I'd made less money than the fool next door who just stuck his money in a savings account. It took me a while, but I finally figured it out. Investing isn't a race to see who's busiest. It's a test of who can sit still. Slow is the fastest way to get where you want to go. You young folks today, you all want to get rich overnight. You're looking for a shortcut. You stare at the red and green lights on the screen all day, your heartbeat syncing up with the market's every tick. Up, you're ecstatic. Down, you're panicking. You think you're participating in the market, but you're just a slave to its mood swings. A great oak tree takes decades to grow. A fine wine needs decades to mature. The accumulation of wealth is no different. It requires time, patience, and the magic of compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world. If you plant a seed today and expect to harvest the fruit tomorrow, you're setting yourself up for failure. All you'll do is get disappointed, dig up the barely sprouted seed, and try again somewhere else, achieving absolutely nothing. So, eventually, I wised up. I stopped looking at things I didn't understand. I started acting like an old farmer, inspecting my own few acres. What do I really, truly understand? The things I see, touch, and use every day. The soda I drink, the snacks I eat, the razor I use, the newspaper I read. I can understand the business of these companies. I know why they make money and why they'll keep making money. Their products are so good that people are happy to pay for them, and they've been doing it for decades. That's their moat. And with a moat like that, it's damn hard for competitors to attack the castle. Once you find a few companies like that, it's like finding a few plots of fertile land. What you do next is both incredibly simple and incredibly difficult. You buy them, and then you pretty much forget about them. Like a real landowner, you just walk the property every now and then to make sure the crops are growing healthy and there are no strange pests. Other than that, you do nothing. Wind and rain are just the weather. You can't control it. The market's short-term fluctuations are the wind and rain of the investing world. A huge rally today, a big crash tomorrow. It's all perfectly normal. If you rip out all your crops because of one bad storm, you're the biggest fool of a farmer there is. The greatest human weakness is the desire to have it all. We want to seize every opportunity, and we end up getting drowned by them. I have a friend, a brilliant man, a doctor. He's a star in his own field. But the moment he steps into the stock market, he becomes a different person. He subscribes to a dozen financial magazines, has hundreds of analysis programs on his computer, and spends his nights studying global macroeconomics, from U.S. interest rate policy to the coffee bean harvest in Brazil, department store, gold, oil, stocks, bonds, U.S., Europe, emerging markets. You name it, he's got it. I asked him, "Do you really understand all this?" He said, "It's asset allocation. It hedges the risk." The result, the market was good. He made less than everyone else because his hodgepodge of assets dragged each other down. The market was bad. He lost money just like everyone else because there's no asset that can truly hedge against a panic-driven sell-off. The man was exhausted. After a long day of saving lives, he'd spend hours trying to master a game he could never win. His real job was to heal people, but he wasted most of his energy on a pointless game. It's a classic case of being too clever for your own good. You think you're managing your wealth, but your wealth is managing you. You think you have a lot of choices, but you're actually paralyzed by them. It's like walking into a restaurant with a 1,000-item menu. You spend all night just reading it, unable to decide, and end up going home hungry. My philosophy is simple. I call it inversion. What does that mean? I don't spend my energy trying to be brilliant. I spend my energy trying to avoid being stupid. The first rule of investing is, don't lose money. The second rule is, never forget the first rule. It sounds like a joke, but it's packed with wisdom. So how do you not lose money? Simple. Don't do things you know are dumb, like borrowing money to invest, like betting your entire net worth on some speculative whim you don't understand, or like buying something just because everyone else is. If you just avoid the handful of mistakes that lead to catastrophic failure, you'll find it's pretty hard not to end up ahead. See, most people are playing a game of addition. They want to learn more technical analysis, get more inside tips, buy more stocks. Me, I've spent my life subtracting. I cross off industries I don't understand. I cross off companies with dishonest management. I cross off businesses that have to burn cash just to survive. I cross off companies whose products I've never even heard of. After all that crossing off, you might only be left with a few names. Those few names, those are my few acres of land. They may not be the flashiest stocks on the market, the ones that go up 10 times in a year. But they're the kind of companies that let you sleep at night. They're like the slow and steady tortoise. And you know that in a race that lasts decades, the tortoise always beats the hare. To concentrate your investments takes courage and conviction. That courage doesn't come from recklessness. It comes from deep understanding. When you've spent a year, 2 years, or even longer studying a company, getting to know it inside and out, like one of your own children, you know its strengths and you're well aware of its weaknesses. At that point, your confidence can't be shaken by whatever price Mr. Market is screaming that day. The market is like a manic depressive business partner. Some days he's euphoric and wants to buy your assets at a ridiculously high price. Other days he's despondent and wants to sell you his best assets for pennies on the dollar. Your job isn't to join him in his madness, it's to take advantage of it. When he's pessimistic, you use his cheap prices to buy up more of your good farmland. When he's wildly optimistic, you might consider selling a small piece to him if the price is truly absurd. But most of the time, the best strategy is to do nothing. I know an old lady whose husband bought her a single stock 50 years ago and then passed away. She knew nothing about stocks, so she just locked the certificate in a safe deposit box and left it there. 50 years later, when she needed some money and took it out, she discovered that her tiny, forgotten investment had turned into an astronomical sum. She had beaten 99% of the experts and fund managers. And what did she do? Absolutely nothing. It was her ignorance and forgetfulness that saved her from humanity's most fatal flaws. The impulse to trade frequently, and the fear and greed that drive you to buy high and sell low. So you see, a lot of the time, the problem isn't what you know, but whether you can control yourself. This game of investing isn't about IQ, it's about temperament. It's a test of a person's discipline, patience, and common sense. All those brilliant people darting in and out of the market, they think they're battling the market, but they're really just battling their own human nature. And it's a battle they never win. Every trade is a betrayal of their own judgment, a confession of their own doubt. They're like monkeys jumping from tree to tree, always thinking the fruit on the next branch will be bigger and sweeter. They spend their whole lives scrambling and never once enjoy the harvest. Stop trying to act like a fund manager. You aren't one, and you don't have the time or energy to be one. Frankly, admitting what you don't know is the beginning of wisdom. Stay within your circle of competence. That circle might be small, but inside it, you're the king. If you're a chef, you probably know more about which soy sauce company has the best product and which food distributor has the strongest network than any Wall Street analyst. That's your few acres. You don't need to understand semiconductor manufacturing or predict global oil prices. You just need to find the best, most honest operators in the fields you know, and then entrust your money, which is your faith, to them. I often compare investing to running a small grocery store. When you're stocking your shelves, do you order every single brand of product on the market? Of course not. You pick the brands you know, you trust, and your customers love. The shelf space is limited. You have to give the best spots to the best-selling items. Your investment portfolio is your shelf. Their capital is your shelf space. Why would you waste that precious space on a bunch of second-rate products you don't know or trust just because someone told you it looks more diversified? It's absurd. In my entire life, the investments that made me real money can be counted on one hand. They were the few plots of land that I understood the best and held onto the tightest. The rest were mostly small-time bets or even foolish mistakes. But it doesn't matter. The bountiful harvest from those few good acres was more than enough to cover all the losses from my mistakes, with plenty left over. That's the power of concentration. When you're right, you have to be willing to bet big. You find a truly great opportunity that you believe in. It makes no sense to go after it with a thimble. You should bring out the wash tub. And excessive diversification is the financial equivalent of taking dozens of tiny thimbles out into a rainstorm, hoping to catch a few drops. Even if it pours, you're not going to collect much water. So, forget the complicated charts and theories. Get back to common sense. Think like a farmer. Choose like a shopkeeper. Find the best few acres within your circle of competence, and then spend a lifetime tending to them. Don't get jealous of the harvest in your neighbor's field. And don't abandon your own land because of a temporary drought or a storm. Have faith that if the soil is fertile and the seeds are good, time will give you the most generous reward. This path looks slow, clumsy, and maybe even a little boring. But when you walk this path, your mind is at peace. You're not speculating. You're growing alongside great businesses. The wealth isn't coming from a zero-sum game of wits. It's coming from the real value created by human progress and economic development. Stop trying to own the world. It's too exhausting, and it's an illusion anyway. The world never really belongs to anyone. What you can truly possess is the solid ground you've tilled with your own hands and guarded with your own heart. Just tend to your few acres. Take better care of them than anyone else. That's enough. Really, it's more than enough. It's what I've done my whole life. It might look simple, but the results haven't been too bad. And I sleep like a baby at night. That, my friend, is more important than anything.